Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, and we have with us a very famous personality, and he took a really long time to come, and I'll share about his background and whatever we'll discuss about the communication and relationships and all the parts of it. So before beginning, uh, without doing a much delay, I would start with his introduction. So he has been a professor in NIST Barampur, and he is also seeing towards the students and counseling and all those things, and he's also part of many different things like writing and all those things. And so yeah, let's begin the topic. Sir, it's an honor to begin the conversation with you finally, and I'm so excited to talk about such deep topics. And so yeah, I would like to know about how you feel about relationships and the impact of communication in relationships. So would you like to share your part in that?
Definitely. So generally there is a perception that communication defines a relationship, which is partly true. The other part is the relationship also defines the communication. How open you are with the other person, that depends a lot on what kind of relationship you are having. So there is, as we all know, balanced relationship. Then there is a giver and there is a taker. So usually the givers are almost all the time silent. While this is a dynamics, who is the giver and who is the taker, and whether there is a balance, along with that there is another layer to it. People who are giver, they can be humble. At the same time, they can also play another role of being very strict or having a very big boundary or rigid boundary. So when these two layers intersect, we'll find it may form a 3x3 9 grid. And if we put people into this, we can definitely find out a correlation between how people are talking with each other. But yes, this is one thing that if the communication is open and honest, then the strength of the relationship is very high and it can overcome any kind of disturbance.
So as you mentioned about disturbances and the various parts of the communication, so we are seeing here about like personal and interpersonal and professional relationships. Whatever it is, we see that we are not able to communicate properly. We are feeling something but we are not able to say that. We are feeling something but we are not able to process whether it is right or whether it is wrong, or should I say or should I not.
Yes.
Suppose we come to a romantic relationship or to a friend or to even parents for that sake. So how do we understand that that person is right for me and I should not have the boundary to say that? Like the person will understand that. Like in general, what do you want to say about this?
So let us take the example of parent-child relationship, because whether the other relationships people have experienced or not, but parent-child relationship almost everyone experiences, and it transitions between the child being 0 to 5-year-old, 5 to teenager, then teenager and post-teenagers. So like this Chanakya Niti is there. Up to 5 years you have to love the child unconditionally, then after 5 you can reprimand or you can use some force also. So there are reasons for generalization. Now when it comes to other kind of relationships, if we take a cue from this, you can understand that when a parent is becoming a parent, like a father or a mother, do they have long experience of becoming a father or mother, or that is the first time? While the child is becoming a child for the first time, it may be the first time or second time for the father and mother, and in each of the instances their patience level and how they are dealing with the child changes.
Correct.
So if they might have tried something which would have worked in the previous child and it is not working with this child, they adapt, they pivot the method. So it all depends on whether we have experienced it prior to this event or it is for the first time that is happening. It decides a lot how we react to the situation.
I understood your point, sir. But if we come to romantic relationships, or suppose we are trying to propose someone, or like maybe I'm feeling that person is my crush, or maybe I'm in a committed relationship, but still there are dynamics and where I feel that no, this person is not understanding me, or should I say this or not, or if I say that person will understand me or not. So even if I say that person is not understanding me, so in that situation, that chaos, how do we deal that we have to say also that person understands me also, and the ground is balanced.
Okay. Every relationship is unique. Let us accept it in the first place. But again, if we go back to the parent-child relationship, there are cases where the child has, let us say, broken a cup, but it is not telling the parent that I have broken a cup. After a certain age, they start taking ownership. They say that yes, it got broken. It was not deliberate, but it got broken. The parents also start accepting that child has mistakenly broken it. But if the parent reacts in a violent way, that reprimanding or hitting the child is the only way to correct it, then the child will never dare to tell the same thing when next time it breaks something. The same thing happens in a romantic relationship also. People are naturally open, but the fear of being judgmental or being judged, or the fear of being rejected or branded into something, that drives them not to share more than what they ought to share. And this creates an invisible glass barrier between the two. Unless that glass barrier is broken, the relationship is not going to grow. It will come to a standstill at some point, and then they will see a saturation.
I totally understand what you're saying. From your words, I could remember a part of me. I was talking with someone. So then I could understand that they were sharing that, okay, I move with my partner, we have a really good time, and we are good with our chemistry and compatibility, but still sometimes I feel that my partner is not understanding me the way they should understand. Maybe because I'm very busy with my schedule, and I am doing other things which is occupying my schedule, and I'm not able to give time to them, and like that things. And in that way, so if the other person understands that no, maybe I should understand and I should give the person space, and then maybe we can work out afterwards. So that way it works out. If not, then what happens? It breaks, and then we have other things. So that's a different thing. So I want to know from your part, so you are also in a committed relationship, you also have kids, you're managing your professional life and everything. So how you making that balance, how you're making that complete structure with your partner, and also in the professional life, you're growing amazing. Is how you're doing that?
Thank you. At a personal level, basically I'm a workaholic. Many people know it. So while balancing this, the first priority should go to the family. Even at the workplace we hear the same thing, but challenges are there when you are sitting in a authoritative position or you are having some responsibility. You cannot shy away from what you need to do at that moment.
Correct.
So what happens is maybe sometimes we eat into the kids' time or the spouse's time. But at the same time, we also need to hear out what the spouse wants to say, and also we need to be heard. Many times, it is not that the other person has to provide a solution. We just need to vent out. We speak and they listen. This mental connection solves a lot of things. People tend to not share because they fear being judged. Everybody has got a template of how the other person should be. So in case we fail to fit into that template, then the person who is holding the template will find us incompetent. And that generally triggers this kind of behavior, that we shy away from sharing time with them. We shy away from sharing a lot of details with them. This gradually kills the relationship, but it happens many a times. At a personal level, I have also experienced to overcome this thing. So it takes a little bit of courage and patience also to open up before the spouse and understand what they are trying to say or what you are trying to say. Whether we are reading what they are communicating or we are reading something what they are not communicating. If there is a balance or an equilibrium between these two, then the sweet spot is hit.
You also mentioned about the sweet spot, that if the person understands what we are saying, so the sweet spot is balanced and it is hit. So, but if the person is not understanding what we say and they are not listening the silent words that we mean to say, then there is a disturbance. So how do we understand that the person is saying, but he or she is saying not to mean it or not to say directly, but to make us understand that please understand what I'm not saying. Like like understand me without me saying what I want to say. So how does that person understand the other person? The words that we are not saying, still we have to understand. So how do that happen? Like, what would you say about it?
See, the life is not a very long journey in
Yeah.
this regard. We live lives in phases.
Correct.
So the time period of life for which we are so much bothered is actually very limited.
Yeah.
And we also have to accept one fact that no one is perfect. So we all are yin yang, some goodness, some badness. So if there are hard compromises to make where you are completely changing yourself, then it's a red flag. But if there is a soft compromise where both of the partners they trade in something, come to a common ground, and it makes them realize their true combined potential, then they should be ready to do that. Now, coming to your question, you are trying to communicate something to someone, but they are not reading, irrespective of how many times they are trying to you are trying to convey it. So again, we have to understand that all the people are not equal.
Correct.
Some people will not have the emotional quotient
Totally.
to understand what you are trying to convey. They may literally understand the words and they may not go into why the words are being chosen.
Yeah.
Then there are some people where you don't even speak and they do understand a lot. And then there are people in between. So what kind of person this is? The only thing I suggest being afraid of is a person who deliberately wants not to read things. If someone is naive enough that they are not able to understand, you may work on improving the skill. It may happen, it may not happen. But if someone is very rigid, that I do not want to understand what is being conveyed to me, then it is a very tough situation to handle. And ideally, it is better to stay away from such personality.
Yes, totally. I agree with your point, and even I wanted to say that. So now I want to come to the generation that is going on right now, like the Gen Zs and the millennials and all those things. So I was talking to a person in my own family background, and that person said to me that, do you know that there are such terms? And when I heard about those terms, and I was like, do they really exist? I mean, like, I was not able to trust them. And then they were like, you know, what is benching and what is situation save, what is breadcrumbing and all that. I feel like, okay, these things exist and you are going through these things and these are actually happening and this is what we need to accept it. So I know that whatever are the reasons behind all these things, and people are going through all these things. So you are yourself handling the counseling part of the children's, especially engineering background children's, and students are literally going through a lot according to you, whatever you mentioned, whatever you discussed. So how are you managing their mindset and their personal life, professional life? I mean, what is your experience in that? Would you like to say something?
If you say managing the mindset of people, even I consider myself as a child with unmanaged emotions, and it does happen with everyone. Everyone has a high and low time. So regarding the new terminologies that have come up, if we go back a little bit to the history, traditionally, maybe sometimes before I was discussing in some other forum, that if we go back 50-60 years ago, typically every family kept the male members, female members separated throughout the daytime. And females constituted a group and males constituted a group. And females were dispensable. The reason was the mortality. Now with advancement of science, the assurance that females will live longer has increased. It has also led to them taking up different professions, being educated and coming at par with their male counterparts, and at par succeeding them or going beyond them. So now there is a time when they are able to take calls on their own lives, which was not the case earlier. And being financially independent is the first step towards that. When someone is financially independent, they take their own decisions. This has led to these terminologies that we are seeing today. And we may see it as an aberration in the human relationships, but that is not the case. If you take 4 generations starting from today, Gen Z is behaving in some typical manner. Millennials behave in a typical manner.
Yeah,
People who were parents to us, they behaved in a certain manner.
totally different.
So we see that their generation had some aberrations. They saw that we have aberrations. We saw our juniors or the millennials, they have some aberrations. And everybody thinks the other one is not correct. But if you see the virtues of the Gen Zs are no nonsense people.
Correct. I totally agree.
They do what they mean. And that gives nervousness to the established society's norms, because the normals of the societies are changing. So we have to accept that society is changing, and they will also find a new equilibrium, and there is nothing wrong or right in a particular generation. It's perfectly okay. We have to make peace with that.
Okay, sir. So I understood whatever you're trying to say, but here also I want to say something like my own personal experience. I meet around a lot of background peoples, and I see what is their life and what are their choices. And the way you mentioned just some time before that, how do we understand that we need to understand what the other person is not saying? Like here I'm talking about romantic relationships and where we want to be committed. So what are the ways that we need to understand that, okay, the other person is not able to say something, or we are not able to understand that? How can we understand, and how can we come to a middle ground, and like we can discuss things that we can do together, and we can make our bond more good, and we can enhance our compatibility in general? So what are the ways that you inculcate in your personal life, or maybe you want to share something with that topic? I would like to know about that.
So to admit, I also have success stories and failure stories in building own relationships. There is a clear distinction when you say what you want out of a relationship. There are two persons in a relationship, generally from opposite genders, the orthodox method that I am telling. In that, if each person thinks what I am going to get from my partner, it is a disaster recipe. You have to see how I can make my partner come into the common platform so that together we get something. In that case, you find that their mood is affected by something which may not be you, but there is some external factor which is affecting him or her, and then you try to rectify it, because your partner's strength and your own strength multiply and give you dividend. If someone is limping in the relationship, obviously you cannot run. So when we try to get something out of the relationship, see what we are getting individually.
That's a very normal thing, that we think that what are we going to get from the other person, irrespective of have we healed from our past, if there is a past.
Yes.
And what do we want in the present situation? Like what can we give, and what can we see that in from our way, in various ways we can like inculcate good things. So
Typically the human psychology is that because people were getting married pretty early when the society was in a raw form, not even marriage, means they were finding a mate, that was happening pretty early. So people wanted a blank slate. Nowadays when marriages are happening late, obviously you will not get a blank slate. It will be a slate with some marks.
not possible.
It is the responsibility of the couple to keep the slate clean when they start afresh. How to do that? This is the question.
Yeah.
One thing is, if we command that you forget everything, you clean your slate, come back, it's not how things work. Because it is something like asking someone to look at their back. We have our eyes at the front. No human being is able to look at the back. It requires another person to look at the back and scratch if something is required. Similarly, in a relationship of two, you require the other person to be supportive and understand that if there is a trail behind, when to cut off and how to cut it off, and help them making peace with the history they are having. You can never erase the memory stays, but once you have overcome the memory, it is like nothing. You do not remember how many UPI transactions you have made last week.
Because your current transaction should be much heavy enough.
You need to see your phone to see how many UPI transactions were there. But at the heat of the moment, even if you're alighting out of an auto rickshaw, that auto rickshaw demanding 120 rupees instead of 80 rupees, it was the peak moment for you at that particular time.
Yeah.
But after a week, it didn't matter, because a lot of other things which made more sense are now happening in your life.
Yes.
So similarly, this couple has to find out what better they can do so that everything that is trailing behind, that becomes insignificant. And one has to accept the person first. Then only you can find out what kind of trauma they are having, what is haunting them, and if I can let go of them, those things.
Yeah, I really understand what you want to say, and I can connect with all the points that you're mentioning. So here I want to also ask about a very simple thing, that the way digitalization and industrialization and technology is advancing, and Gen Zs and millennials, we are in a different sector, but also we are saying that very small children, they are very like a lot of access to gadgets and all those things. How does that affect their mind, and how do they communicate? I mean, I see a children in my family, and that person is like, I don't want anyone, I just want my phone, I just want to be in my corner and just leave me alone. Even if that person is trying to connect with the other family members, they're busy in their schedule. So what is happening here is, I'm noticing, you can share your point, I noticed that the children is not getting that kind of attention. So what is happening is, that person is always online or doing something in the phone or in the PC or whatever, and they think that that is the world, like that is the end of my world. So that human touch and that human connection is missing. So here I believe parents should be at first to see the children, but also what are the other ways that we can use so that children can, like come out of that digital zone and be more humanly connected with other people and have that experience.
So if I take own example,
Yeah,
when we were kids, maybe teenagers or before that,
we had a different background totally.
so the parents, even though reprimanded that, okay, you have to stay away from this kids,
Yeah.
but you are free to play with other guys.
Yeah,
Now what is happening? The parents are afraid of every other child.
yeah,
They want the child to be confined at the home, not exposed to anyone else, with a fear that the child may be exposed to something else. It's a natural tendency, but we have to accept that if children are not playing with each other, they may learn good things and bad things from each other. It is still safer than a child learning nonsense things from the internet, because the content is so much at the fingertip.
there's a huge difference
Yes.
between the human and the non-human thing.
No one can find out if the children are exposed to certain things. If the children are playing with each other, if something untoward happens with one child, at least the news can percolate and some other adult member can find out that, okay, they are exposed to this thing. The same thing you can never track with online content. So the first compromise that parents have to make is that allowing their child to play with other peers. They have to take the risk. There is no browbeating on this. It goes right into the adulthood. Even I have seen parents telling their 30-year-old kids, for them it's kid, but 30-year-old is an adult, maybe a parent, even telling them that you have to shy away from these people. That is not the right approach. You have to allow them to mix with a lot of people and find their equilibrium, who they are comfortable with. If a child is going to be a terrorist, they will find terrorist friend, irrespective of what you have done. Gautam Buddha is an example.
Yes.
You cannot stop anyone. They will do what they are destined to do. You only have to provide a cornerstone so that they don't veer off much, but you cannot ask them to walk on a sword. That thin line has never worked and it will never work.
So, sir, as I was mentioning, that the way the Indian society, the typical Indian society is working right now, I mean, I'm not talking about the families or the persons who are allowing or accepting the females to come up front and do what they want to do, but those who are not able to understand the mindset and the way the females are thinking, like, we also want a family, but we also want to have a career also. So, how does that that gel up, like the female's mindset and the parents' mindset, and how does even the partners, how do they understand that okay, my partner is also in a professional way, and also I have to accept her in a personal way, so that understanding how it should come up, like what do you feel on this topic?
See, you used the word allowed.
Yeah.
Why did you use the word allow? You might have certain conditioning in the mind that we are allowing. It actually comes from the fact that in a relationship, typically the girl is a little bit younger.
Yeah.
But also we have to take into account whether the girl is emotionally mature. If they are, whether their voice stands equal chance among others, or it is still considered as a
Taboo.
lower category voice. It is not having that priority. That is the first thing. The second is people are not comfortable taking risks. It is always easy when you are working in a team. Like marriage is also a team. It's a 2-member team, or if it's a joint family, it's a more-member team. So whenever there is a team, it's a cricket match, the captain can say, if I am telling you throw a short pitch ball, the bowler has to comply. In that case, all the responsibility must vest with the captain only. The bowler must not be liable for anything. But that is not how the teams work. The captain tells, this is my vision, that you have to throw 3 balls offside, then hit one right onto the left leg, and then to swing into him. 6 balls, and we stand a chance in getting a wicket. But if he tries to micromanage things, then no team has succeeded in that effort. Because the bowler knows
possible.
It's not possible, it's humanly not possible, and that is where this mistake happens. That you micromanage people's life, tell exactly what you have to do, what you don't have to do. You seek permission for every breath that you take beyond normal breath. If you take a deep breath, you seek prior permission. That is not how things work.
Totally.
So this something has to start with the females. They need to tell their child, because children, what happens, they do what they see. If they see something that this has been happening in my family, this is the norm that I have to follow. And the mother's role is a very critical role. If the mother is not taking a stand that this is acceptable or not acceptable, or there are alternate ways of how things can be done, then the child will never learn. And it is a pretty easy part on the male, because males are stronger, muscles are more, and they stand a better chance in stifling the voice instead of helping it out, reading it into a song. So it is entirely between the two persons who are involved, that the dominant partner, whoever it is, they have also to give some ample space for the other person to open up and understand what they are trying to say, and facilitate how they can do something what they always wanted to do. If there is danger in that, help them not trade into danger. But stopping outright someone from trying out anything is something like you never walk out of your house, because accidents always happen on the road.
Yeah.
So you never walk. So the solution is that we have to accept time is changing, and now because everyone has got a personality, which is not the case earlier, that personality will show up at some point in time, and we have to manage that personality. We cannot ignore it.
I understand the way you are explaining. So here I also want to share a part of my experience where I see people coming from various relationships from the past, and because they have not healed their trauma, and they are still they're trying that, okay, maybe this relationship would work out. I have some attachments from my past. I want those things, or I don't want, but still I want my present and my future from this person to be as I want, only as I want. So is it not like dreaming in a world, and like I feel that it's not possible, but also it's at the same time it is also necessary for you to understand that that person is also coming from a trauma, that person is also having certain expectations, and that needs to be dealt with. So if that is happening, well and good. If that is not happening, and if we just switch to our attachment partners, that I was attached to the X person, now to a Y, then to a Z, then how do I understand that if I switch, how do I settle in a middle ground, and how do I understand that we need to come in a middle ground and we need to settle somewhere? So would you like to say something on that?
You know this Japanese saying we generally read in English. If you discover that you are on the wrong train, the sooner you get down, the easier for you to resume your right journey.
Yeah.
So if you discover sometime that I am on a wrong train, then people generally get down. What you asked is, if I discovered that I am on a wrong train, and if I hop between X, Y and Z, does it happen that if suppose I am going on a train towards Mumbai, but I had to go towards Kolkata, and suddenly I see another train is there on another platform already moving, do I jump from train to train? It does not happen. It should not happen. I should get down to the platform, take a breath, find out what are the other options, and allow me to judge the right option, then take another train.
Yeah.
When we jump between trains, the chance of accident reaches almost infinity. So that is the first thing. The second thing is letting go of the past. Whatever happens, it's definitely part of the life, but it does not define you in any way. Everybody comes through learning. There are parents who, due to carelessness or whatever, have lost their child.
Yes.
A mother carrying a child sometimes became careless, child fell and it died. Did the mother try to murder the child? No. It was just a scenario. It happened. Similarly, people who are doing something for the first time, they tend to do a lot of mistakes.
It's very general and natural.
And that is how people lead their lives. So we have to allow people to remain safe. And if they're trying out something, we have to guide them, not stop them by holding on to their hair that you cannot do this.
You cannot do that.
It's their life. They will be doing. If there is an inherent danger, we have to warn them. And if they are carrying some trauma, it's both partner who have to help each other. It never so happens that one person
Always gives.
Yes.
And the other person is like, I will take.
Yeah, it does not happen. Everybody must be having some stories, including so-called very pure father and mothers of ours. They might also be having stories which we don't know.
We don't know, yes.
Yeah.
A very eye-opening sentence you just say, that parents too can have their history, but we just don't know because they are just covering it up with all the other elements like their work and the family and all those things in between. So yeah, we discussed a lot and it was really nice talking with you. I would just wind up with asking some 3-4 questions. So the first questions, whatever I'll ask, it should be like, maybe you can say in a sentence or in a word. So the first question would be, what is the best advice you have got till now? Based on relationship.
On relationships, I have received very few advices, but from one of my employers, or say current employers, he said he simplifies into a family first.
Okay.
Because I spend a lot of time in doing some mundane work, so that is where he pitches in and says family first. You may realize when it is very late, but the sooner you understand, I believe you can also work better.
So the family is the key. And what is the worst advice you've received about relationships till date?
Worst advice have been received from casual friends. Sometimes what happens, some friends are not very seriously thinking about a problem. They have some weird ideas.
Yeah.
And somewhere back of their mind it runs that if this weird idea somebody can try out, I could see the result. And then they push these ideas to you.
Totally.
So sometimes you are looking for an honest opinion and they give you some weird kind of opinion. So you understand from the very first place that this is not a right advice. It has happened with me many times.
Would you like to mention what it was?
No.
Okay.
Because let us not discredit the
Okay, fine.
advisors
the
also.
third question is, what is the best and the most favorite word of yours when it's come to relationships and commitment and communication? What is the best word according
It's
to
the yin-yang I mentioned in one of the discussions.
Yeah.
Yin-yang is the philosophy where we accept that everyone has got some bright side and a dark side.
you? Totally.
Also, in the yin-yang figure, inside the dark portion, there is another white dot, and inside the bright portion, there is another dark dot, which says that every darker side also has a brighter side, and every brighter side has also got a darker side.
It's neutral.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating, but the viewers, if they would understand, it would be really good. And I want the viewers to understand that there is a good and the bad part of everyone, and we need to understand that if we understand that we are coming in the neutral part, things are beautiful, and it's okay that it takes time, and it's okay that we understand in our own ways. So the fourth question is that if you would be given the chance to decide a rule that people should follow and it's necessary for them, so what that rule would be according to relationships, like the whole world should follow that?
It's not me, but different communities have different rules for their people. I know of a community, very modern, and that's a very vast community, which forbids the boy and girl to meet before marriage.
It's very normal.
Yeah, it happens when we go to an electrical shop and we ask for a 3-pin socket and a 3-pin plug. We know that all 3-pin plugs and all 3-pin sockets are standardized. Everything will fit in everything. In that case, these things work. But in human case, it does not work. There is a very flawed understanding. I regret to say that is some kind of a philosophical movement that they are preaching these things. I request that everyone who is going into a committed relationship on long term, they should spend their initial phase in a non-physical manner to understand each other's perspective, each other's priorities, because the moment it becomes physical, it has a lasting impression. So before that period is coming, we should spend sufficient time in understanding each other, realizing what they want in life.
Because
then jump into the second
that's
phase.
very natural for both of the persons to understand, then be committed. Yeah, totally.
But that is not happening all the time.
That's what I was
We are
mentioning.
sometimes wearing the shoe first, then wearing the socks.
Yeah.
So
Then
that
we are
is not
saying
the right
why my
sequence.
shoes and my
Yeah.
legs are itching.
Yes.
So yeah. So it was really nice to talk with you. So many things we discussed about the good, the bad, the yin and yang, how do we manage the neutrality and all those things. So I request the viewers to really support the channel and see what we have discussed, to know whatever like we mentioned and all those things. So I would really like to thank you, sir, for being patiently handling all the questions and answering them. So it was really nice to talk with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Life is short. Everyone should do something productive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.